Hello friends! Wow! Look at the chart today. Let's take a look and see what's happening. You know, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the chart and chart changes, and the second thing that I'll talk about is a little discussion about the greater meaning here that I see. And the other thing I wanted to say to you all is thank you so much for sharing my work and for liking the content and for subscribing. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. The big changes in the chart are all right here. And if you remember in my last video, I was wondering about the pattern here and if we would see it repeated. And we obviously didn't get the data. And so we'll have to see what happens next. What I've noticed is sometimes over days, trends or stories sort of with similar themes will kind of roll out. And so right now we're either at the beginning of something new or in the middle of the current story. I don't know where we are yet. The interesting thing I wanted to show you here, see these squiggly lines in blue? So you obviously have what I call the technological effect here, and there's a little skip in it right here. But it was amazing to me because these were somewhat reminiscent of a DNA chain, right? And then down here I was seeing faces, like here's head, 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 and then the bodies right here. It looked like a big crowd of human beings. And the energy is kind of, I don't know, they're together, they're somewhat elegant. I do sense a feminine energy. But anyway, so you've got the DNA strands over their heads, and they have, here's the head, here's this, where it gets lighter is where the neck would be, and then here's the shoulders here. And then the bodies go down to the bottom of the chart. Now, I'm focused on the images because I feel that the images are, and the Schumann chart is a reflection of human consciousness, and I have in the beginner playlist more information on that if you're new. In this video, I'd also mention that one other aspect, which is that the hertz range of this energy is equal to the hertz range of the human brain waves. And so that's interesting too. This that we're looking at here is a representation of some of the non-physical energy in the air around us, a pictorial representation. And that is called a spectrogram. That's the fancy name for it. But basically in the air around you, there are measurements that describe the air around you that science uses. And the measurements where this chart is at is called hertz. And so our human brain operates on that same frequency level, the same signal level as this energy here, from 0 to 40 plus hertz. But just 0 to 40 is shown on the chart. And so it's from where your feet touch the ground up to the top of the sky, if you will. And so therefore, we swim in these energies and we are imbued with them, really. I mean, they're non-physical. They're even flowing through us, right? From the standpoint that we're just energy, both condensed energy in the body and then expanded energy in our human energy field. You could describe this as really the range of human experience, like closest to the body. That's how I see it. Okay, so it's fascinating because down here I see faces. I made a crop here, and then I adjusted the color on the spectrogram so we could see. But see here, I see eyes. All the eyes are about at this level, and then the mouths are all about at this level. And there's a woman that sent me, she did an amazing job pulling out the faces from areas like this and adjusting the lighting and the coloring to actually pop the faces. I can see them with my clairvoyance, and just my mind works that way, where I can put images together from small pieces of pixels, I guess. Okay, so the big thing that we've got here is this wave of white and red energy, but there might be something that you would normally overlook, and that is right here. Do you see how there's kind of impressions or indentations almost in this energy? Well, let's make it smaller. Okay. Do you see the face now? Isn't it amazing? There's an eye, and a nose, and it's looking to our right here as we look at this image. It looked to me like a bird, like an owl, maybe even a hawk. But the owl was the first thing that really came to mind. And so there's a shadow element here in the chart, right? And shadow just means something that we're unaware of that's operating behind the scenes. Now, when I first wrote the description on the chart, I called it occult. But then I removed that. And the reason why is this. Occult is really a type of imbuement of energies. So it's taking an object or a symbol and then using it for certain aims, right, that tend to come from the shadow realms that humans can experience. But an owl in and of itself isn't occult, okay? An owl belongs to the earth. All right? An owl and the interpretation of an owl belongs to all of us as human beings. So I'm going to read a description from Spirit Animals, spirit-animals.com. Guidance is on offer. Pay attention to the signs. The thing about the owl is that it sits and observes its surroundings, and it does so in a way where usually it's unseen and hidden. And when an owl takes flight, you can't hear it. Its wings it's the most quiet of any bird flying. And there's something about the aerodynamics of its wings that causes it to be like that. Whenever this bird is present, it will share its ability to see what others may miss. I'll link this down below. The owl meaning prompts you to open your eyes and honestly examine how things are. You will be surprised by what you suddenly see. And this could be in the positive or in the negative or in neutral. Carefully listen to your inner voice and guidance and recapture through that listening the knowledge of your correct path in life, what's right for you. This description describes the owl as having senses that can pierce through shadows and through to the other side that promises light, happiness, and knowledge. Okay, so just for this video, although we have two sets of images here, we have the white wave and the red wave, and then we have this flag image. I'm going to just in this video focus on this image because I want to separately talk about the energy with this. So what I want to do is do an interpretation of the rest of this now, because this series of the humans here, the owl here, and then I call this the shaman here, tells a story. So let's look at this image here. And here you have eye, nose, and doesn't it it's shaped like a head, okay? And there's if you were to extend it through here, there'd be a break in the head, or it's peering through a doorway or possibly through timelines, right? And there's a vertical line here that kind of grounds the energy throughout the hurt. And then there's this little character here, like a little red guy or gal. It looks like it could be male or female. It kind of looks androgynous to me. And the image of this here is, it's almost like it's rising out of this little, I'm going to call it a little guy, even though it looks like it could be androgynous. And then down here, there's another glowy face kind of at the higher hertz. This is in the high beta into the gamma hertz range when you relate it to our brainwaves, human brainwaves. The information behind this image in the numbers, frequency, amplitude, and quality is also really interesting. You could go to my Twitter and download these charts here. And I put links down below in the videos. So you see here, you have the red image, and there's almost like a star effect down here from where almost like his feet are. And this is going left and right. Maybe 25 hertz range. So this is in our beta, and this is integrated thinking. So this is coming from, there's a bunch of thought that has gone into this for this character, or training, or whatever it happens to be, where it also integrated with him or her as a person. Okay, and see how this is image, it's looking backwards in the chart, it's looking to the left, and that shows that it's a shadow image. Also the fact that that the figure here is in red. Now, does it mean it's demonic that it's in red? No, it does not. Ooh, that's different, right? No, it means that it's from the shadow realm in this case, because a demonic figure could not produce all of this. Okay, a demonic figure could not produce that amount of connection with more expanded frequencies of light. And I also say that, often that the white resonance also shows where the action is. But for this much white resonance to be present, this has to be coming from, there has to be a spiritual connection with this. And therefore, this being is in the fourth dimension, most likely. And that's why I called this an earth shaman. The other thing is that this whole energy really reminded me of islanders from the South Pacific. Like specifically what came to mind was Papua New Guinea, but really a feeling of being closely tied with both tribalism and the earth, and practices that are, and people that live closer to the earth than we do at these times. And then you have this to me is the shaman here, both of them together, the shaman, but looking back almost through the energies, okay? And this is something that a shaman can do. Now, let me show you the images that this reminded me of related to Papua New Guinea. And coincidentally, I've happened to know people that have been to Papua New Guinea, and I don't know, I come across some very interesting people in my life. So these are, see that the long, the face and the headdress here, do you see how it goes very, very high, right, above the person? And that's what that image reminds me of in here too. This is like a chief or a shaman or medicine person, and I don't know specifically what this outfit is, but this kind of ancient, close to the earth, linked with ancient practices. This is the energies that I see here when I look at this energetic shaman. It's a shaman of the earth. And it's red here because it's coming from, okay, and it comes from here as well. So this is the spiritual. In this case, because of what's going on in the chart, this is why I'm interpreting it this way. Here you have a person who's connected with the spiritual, but that connection is not the focus. Like even you could see, it's almost like energy rising off the spiritual face here, and then going into 4D, and then in 4D being very, very active and looking backwards. That's a shadow element, a 4D element. And by 4D, I mean the fourth dimension or the astral realms of energy. Now, most of us in our daily life are not aware of this, but I've come into the awareness over the years that there are people that go back and forth from the fourth dimension. And there are people that actually have kind of alternate lives in the fourth dimension while they're living in a physical human body. Now, this is a common practice of shamans. But what I see here is, now this is my first interpretation. You have a person who is an earth shaman, okay? So, and all that entails and means, and the honor and respect that carries with it. And they are looking back through the energies, okay? They're looking back through, and what do they see? They see the owl here, and shamans are well known to work with earth energies and to sometimes even see through the eyes of animals or experience or understand or gain information through working with animals. And the owl, as we just read, is certainly a good one to do that with, I suppose. And then it looks back further over what's going on with humans, okay? This group of people gathered. What's happening with, here you have the DNA above their head. So it's kind of like their history, right? Their genetic history. And then you have these figures here, these faces. These people seem to be in that time, like in the time of whoever these humans are, right? And it could be over generations or centuries. People watching, people contributing, people listening, people making decisions about the progression of things. Shadow elements that assist us, that observe, that attempt to have their influences. So the shaman is looking back over all of this. Now, there's no information here about what their assessment is, but this is seems to be what is happening. I don't know. I just feel like it's a good thing. I feel like that I'm grateful that there are, quote unquote, I'd call it watchers of humanity that perform this role and function, and that care for us in general, that care for their own people. Okay, so here's the owl, and here's some images of the owl. Here's one. I adjusted the light to make the contrast really high, and you can see the eyes darkened. And to me, that looks a lot like this hidden owl here. But there was something really interesting that I just wanted to quickly show you. What I did was I enlarged in the eye. Now, can you see here that there's actually a rounded eye shape and a pupil? Do you see that? Right there. And here's the beak or nose, a beak here, right? But look at that eye. Here's the owl eye, okay? And there's the eye there looking through the energies. Isn't that fascinating? Ooh, spooky. It's spooky, but not good or bad, okay? Just simply observing from a state of neutral. And what I want to say here is that there's an aspect of who is watching the watchers. That is what comes to mind when we look at the very clear and sharp eye here. What I'm interpreting here is that those who take on the responsibility, okay, of being in this position would want to be in alignment with divine will. How do you perceive that? Well, I mean, from a human perspective, you do the best you can. But in doing the best you can, you learn to commune with the divine. There are processes. It takes effort. It takes constant attention to the self to develop the skill set. There are those among us who are able to develop these skill sets faster and faster now. Maybe it's just the energies, I'm not sure. But when we talk about who is watching the watchers, there's an aspect here of being careful. Because if one approaches this task with hubris of any kind, with arrogance of any kind, one has to understand that hidden behind the scenes, and when I say larger forces, I'm not talking about off-world forces. I'm not talking about interdimensional forces that work through human beings. I'm not talking about whatever the powers are that direct things on this planet, if that's even the case, okay? But what I am talking about is natural forces that embody the divine in very powerful ways. What I'm talking about are very, very big natural spirits, okay? And very, very big celestial presences that sometimes make themselves known on Earth. And I'll give you an example. Years ago, when I basically was not in the spiritual space at all, but I was on a holiday in Arizona, in this great big lake there, in the middle of nowhere. And at one point I was alone. My friends were doing whatever they were doing. And I was sitting there attempting to commune with nature. And what happened was a little yellow jacket, okay, zoomed by me. Yellow jackets, what I have found is they tend to be messengers. And so when it buzzed by me, I thought, oh, I wonder what the message is. What am I supposed to perceive? And since I personally was focused on communing with nature, I thought, oh, I know. I will talk to that rock. And the rock that I chose was this huge, hundreds of foot high cliff in front of me. If you've been to Arizona or Utah, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so here I am, this little human being at the water, and I send my spirit, right? I'm attempting to send my spirit up to the top of this cliff, and I just felt this like whack. Like, it wasn't hard, okay? It didn't hurt me, but and then there was like this breeze, okay? With that came this breeze, and I automatically, like, the energy body self that I had sent up there had just got swatted down, okay? Gently, though, not, because I guess my intentions were, maybe my heart was in the right place, but I just wasn't going about this with, I just didn't have the framework, okay, energetically or point of view, attitude, just a whole lot of pieces. And the canyon wall basically put me back in my place. It wasn't quite how dare you, okay, but I could immediately sense that if I was, for lack of a better description, if I was an asshole, that would not have gone as well, okay? So anyway, this is what I'm talking about, that no matter who you are on Earth, there are large forces, and periodically they make themselves known. And there's something about this time in history, these years, these very moments that we are living through, where these forces are present and they are paying attention.